Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Calyptix Security Support webinar. We do this from time to time, and it's chock full of little tips and tricks and everything from our support team. Today, we got Dwayne Pettis, and he's going to be going through many of the different tools and sites and different best practices that he has accrued over the many years working in this industry, and to bring it straight to you. So without further ado, go ahead, Dwayne.
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to bring this webinar to you. Common resources that aid Calyptix and support. We do a lot of different, a lot of people think that we are magic workers. We do have a lot of good people behind us. My dev team is excellent when it comes to finding ways of getting things done or different sites. So a lot of this presentation, they've helped me put together so that we can make sure that we give you all of the information you have. Again, I'm Dwayne Pettis. I'll be the host for this one. We do have a busy agenda, so I did want to let you guys know we won't spend a lot of time on any of the slides that we have, but we will give you as much information as we can. So we'll be sharing this slide deck as well on our portal, so you don't have to take too many notes. We'll just be going through this. This is what the agenda looks like. I try my best to put the agenda into different categories to make it easy. But as you can see, there's a lot of information here, and we'll try our best to get through all of it in less than an hour.
Now I'll quickly jump in and just say that one thing I would like to mention is that it's not just a firewall. I mean, it's not just a router. It's not just a firewall. It's a unified threat management platform. And what that is a bunch of different systems working in concert to achieve a goal of security for you. So it's a little more complicated, and also to better understand what we are delivering to you, we would definitely recommend to say this isn't more than just a router. There's many other things like the web filter, community shield, IPS, IDS, gatekeeper, geofence. These are many different features of the AccessEnforcer that help you with tools and security features that a router wouldn't have. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thanks, Joseph. One thing that we do have and we did want to mention is we have portals that we have. We have our partner portal, which Joseph will be giving a little bit more information, and our CCM, which is our newest portal that we have for all of our centralized management. Our legacy portal, which was called SPS or my.calyptix.com, it is still there, but it is going away in a little bit. So we did want to give you information about all of our different platforms that we're going to have and that we have for you. As I said, the single pane server, we're going to retire this one. It's our legacy service that we had out there, my.calyptix.com. It is good because at right now, it does host your backup configuration. So if you do get a device and you need to get a backup configuration, it's fully encrypted, but you can download that there from this site, my.calyptix.com. You can also do your DNS from there, and you can get whatever the DNS link. Calyptix provides free DNS for all of its clients. So instead of paying for that, and you don't have to pay for a static IP address, we do provide that information as well.
Now, as we move into developing the new platform, as we call the partner portal, we are moving some things that we have in SPS into the partner portal, like what Dwayne had just pointed out, the DNS. That is something that is inside of the partner portal under the network sites, but it still doesn't have things like the configuration backups and some of the alerting that's inside of SPS, but we are slowly trying to incorporate that in. And as you can see, we have a lot more assets inside of Partner Portal than we did in SPS, and also the old Partner Portal that we had. We now have extensive knowledge base, training resources, and full release notes. There's some extra things like for pricing, name change forms, and different things. But you're allowed to see your entire fleet within the Partner Portal, and it's just a very easy way to see what kind of what's going on with your fleet.
And one thing I did want to mention also about the partner portal is, as you can see at the top, Joseph, he's in charge of the partner portal, which I really thank him for doing that. He made some things public to everyone. So you can have the knowledge base, which used to be behind a password. Right now, our training resources and knowledge base are on the internet without a password. So you'll be able to really get to all the 4 things up top without even logging into our partner portal. But we do have some things that are still behind the partner portal as well.
Right. And that page, if you go back one, reflects that. The things in the gray box is stuff that's under the login, and the stuff on the top that's not in the box is freely available as a guest or just like a no login view.
Excellent.
Now, CCM is a new platform that we have just developed. It's been developed in-house by Nick Pallone, one of our developers, and it uses the same login as the partner portal. Now, so that being connected in that way allows us to, streamline the whole entire login process. If no more usernames and passwords you need to do, it's all directly connected. And how you can access this is, contact your account success manager, and they will be able to provide you with the access you need for Calyptix Cloud Manager. And what this is a platform to allow you to push changes directly to your units all at once as a fleet in one shot. So it's something that has been asked for a long time, and it's finally come to fruition. And we have a lot of things that are going to be being put in there within this next year. Can't really just divulge all of that, but there is some exciting things coming very soon.
Thanks, Joseph. Before we get into the webinar, we did want to give you a couple tips that Calyptix has. For networking troubleshooting, this is one of the main chips that we have. We call it 4 corners. And on an internal device on the network, if you want to find out where slow computers are happening, if it's your firewall, if it's something on the local network, if it's something on the internet, we call this tip called 4 corners. And what we do is we open up 4 different command prompts. From there, we ping the internal gateway of your firewall. We ping the modem. We ping the external gateway of your firewall, and we ping something like a Google DNS server 8.8.8.8, or you can ping like www.google.com. We always add the -T after so that it's a continuous ping. Eventually, something in one of these boxes will change, if not all the boxes. If they do change, then we know exactly where the issue is. I'll give you an example. If by some chance the first box that we have, Calyptix internal gateway, changes, and it gets higher, or you get a request timeout, that means that the problem is either with a switch, a cable, or the Calyptix itself. Whereas if we're pinging and the Calyptix internal gateway does not fail, but you get a failure on the Google DNS server, we know for a fact it's probably a problem with your ISP or your DNS servers that you have. So we do something called a Calyptix tip. It's called 4 corners. So this is something that I did want to give you. It's something that we had in most of our webinars so that we can find out where the issue is with some of the network traffic on our system. So if you're a partner with Calyptix, we recommend that all of your techs have a serial cable, and a terminal program. The terminal program we choose is PuTTY. This serial cable is very, very important to us because with the AccessEnforcers, we get the ability to, my developers can fix problems without even doing an RMA. A lot of times we can log into a device on site, find out what the issue is, and then fix that issue. So we definitely recommend that you all have, and all of your techs have, a serial cable or console cable and a terminal program, PuTTY. To find out what port, a lot of people have asked me, well, how can I find out what port I am on a Windows device? If you hit the Windows key and the X, it'll take you to where you can select Device Manager. Once you plug that cable into your computer, you can find under the Device Manager, under the COM port, whether it's there, and it'll have a communications port. It'll say COM3, COM4, things like that. So if it has an X on it, then that means that your cable might be bad, or you might need drivers if it has an exclamation point. So these are things that we did want to tell you before we got into our webinar. It's also been mentioned to us that a lot of us, we don't keep the network information. Once we put it into the Calyptix, we just leave it. So we found Nick again. He wrote a program called the Auditor, and what it does is you can go to reports, audit, log exporter, and you can select the ARP table. If you select the ARP table and hit go, it'll download all of the NIC information on that device. This helps out because now you don't have to keep the information, or you'll have every part of the information for this device here, just in case you need to replace it or you need to find out that you're documenting. So under the ARP table, you can find all of the NIC information, and this will be private IPs and public IPs. So the AccessEnforcer, to get into everything, the AccessEnforcer has a lot of diagnostics tools. Before we go external, I did want to let you know all of the diagnostics tools that are in the Calyptix device that we can use. It has a site of range calculator, route tables, it has trace routes, packet analyzer, telnet. It has a whole bunch of features already built into the Calyptix so that we don't have to go to external sources. So if you have a Calyptix, which we are going to mention some of the deals that we have, you'll have access to a lot of these different diagnostic tools. And then I'm going to tell you my favorite tools that I work with a lot. So where I live at on a Calyptix is under Home Diagnostics, under the Packet Analyzer. I live here because my job is to figure out where the issue is. And in order to figure out where the issue is, I have to trace and watch the packets go. So under Home Diagnostics, I have the ability to watch those packets live. So what I do is I open up generally a packet analyzer on the NIC side and on the WAN side. So I open up two different windows, and then I put in information to say, all right, I'm going to look on the WAN side for some specific information, whether it's port 53 traffic, whether it's 3389 traffic. And then I'll look on the NIC side, and then I'll try to click on a program, let's say RDP, and then I'll watch it move from the LAN side to the WAN side. That way I know it's not really a Calyptix issue because I've watched the traffic move from the internal NIC of the Calyptix device to the WAN side. So this is how you can tell specifically where traffic is and how it's moving through the Calyptix. We do recommend also a program called Wireshark. Wireshark is how we import that traffic to get more information. And this is a very, very robust program. So you can get it at wireshark.org. When you download your TCP dump, you can dump it directly into Wireshark and gather and isolate traffic and do all of those things. Another thing we did want to mention in this page is if you go to the packet analyzer and you select, there's a help right next to in the BPF syntax, you can narrow down the traffic that we are trying to watch on both sides. And we have a help there that gives you how you can phrase things in the BPF syntax in order for you to narrow down that information. So we do have a gatekeeper tip. These are my commercials. You'll see some commercials that we have in this webinar. One of the commercials we have is a gatekeeper tip. So what we wanted to do, if you're running the gatekeeper program, which for some of you may not know, RDP is very, very much a vulnerability. So Calyptix has devised a way to make RDP secure by running our gatekeeper program. So with this program, we have the ability to RDP securely into your network without opening up a port 3389 on your device. However, you do get a lot of these RDP files in your downloads folder. We have come together and found a PowerShell tool that we can use, and Warren, one of our lead support techs here, has devised a way to schedule that task in the PowerShell, and now you can get rid of those old RDP files so that your user doesn't have to see them in the downloads folder, or you don't have to go there and delete them for them. So you can schedule a task to go and delete these. This is one of our Calyptix Gatekeeper tips. So common ports. A lot of people might not know that there are certain ports that we use and that are static. So an example of this might be if you're looking for FTP traffic, you're going to use port 21. If you're looking for SMTP traffic, you're going to use 25. If you're looking for secure web or HTTPS traffic, you're going to use 443. So these common ports are what we use. And For a full list of those ports or a cheat sheet, we go to Station X. Station X has all of these common ports there so that you can find out specific ports that are used for specific things. Like if you wanted to find out where client VPN traffic generally is, and we know it's on UD port 1194, you can go to Station X and it'll tell you where the common ports are for different applications. Now, let's jump into some public and private IP address information. From here, we're going to talk about everything from finding out what your IP address is to supernetting. So let's step into this right quick. So to find my IP address, my go-to website is IPChicken. IPChicken is the site where you can type it into a browser and it'll tell you what your public IP address is. This is very, very good information if you are looking for your public IP address and you're natted behind your modem. So if your modem is giving out a 10.1.10 IP address to all of your clients, you may not know what your public IP address is. But if you go to ipchicken.com, it'll tell you what your public IP address is. So we use this a lot. Carrier grade net. So many know that years ago we ran out of IP4 IPs. Several years ago we ran out. So what the ISPs have done is they've created something called carrier grade net instead of all switching quickly to IPv6, which we are gradually going to. And what this does is the ISP is allowed to net in the cloud or the ISP and then give you one of those IPs. The range that they're supposed to use is the 100.64 range. And it goes from 100.64 to 100.27. But as you can see, when I did my IP chicken, I was at my sister's house and they have the 100.34. So it might be outside of this range, or that just might be a public IP address that Verizon is using, Verizon Fios, but most likely carrier grade NAT is used outside of that range. But I did want you guys to be aware of that. So we have private IPs. These are non-routable IPs that we have decided that will not be routable. You can use them on your internal networks. There's a Class A, Class B, and Class C, which means for the Class A, you can get a whole lot more IPs to use. Class C gives you a limited amount. So if we're looking at our Class C network and you have 192.168.0 all the way 0 dot to a 0 dot, you can use these IPs. So that's 0, 0 all the way to 255, 255. You can use that whole network as a private IP LAN on your network, and it won't be routable on the internet. So that means that I can use the same range. You can use the same range. These are all different ranges that we use. Now, do note, if you see 192.169.4 something, that's a public IP address. So those are allowed to be routable on the network, but these are the three ranges that are private IPs. There's something called documentation IPs. So a lot of people don't know, if you're writing documentation, they've specified 3 different ranges that you should use for writing IP4 documentation. And the reason that they've done this is because you might not want to give your personal information out while you're writing documentation. These are the 3 ranges that they have set aside for writing documentation. And you can find that at the RFC hashnotes.dev. The next thing we're going to talk about is a whois. Whois is basically a call and response to an internet database. So what we do with this is we want to find out who owns a site. Then you will go to whois.domaintools.com and you can type in some host name or some domain name, and it'll give you all of the information about that, the IP address, who owns it, the address, things like that. So sometimes we have to use a whois to find out who owns that IP address. So as my commercial comes the second time, Calyptix tip number 24, we have a new form on our partner portal that's behind the login. Joseph was great enough to add this site name change. And what it basically does is if you have an AccessEnforcer at a location and you have to move that to a new location, you can go to this site right here behind our portal and just change the name. It goes to all of the necessary people and they can change the name and they will organize it so that our names match your names of what you want. Back to our regular scheduled program. So IP subnet calculators. I use IP subnet calculators for finding out what ranges are available in a specific subnet. So for me, when you get a public IP address, say the IP address is 92.25.45.64, that means the host IP address range goes from 92.25.45.65 all the way to 92.65.45.126, since it is a /26 network, which means you have a lot of IPs that you can use. Generally, this bottom number of 65 and the bottom number or the top number 126 is going to be the router. And then you have all of the rest of those IPs to use. I generally get this information because when people call in, they'll say, hey, this is the range they gave me. Which IP address should I use? So this is how I find out what IPs you have available by the CIDR range that's given by your ISP. And many times we have to find out where an IP address is located. So in our geographic fence that we have, so in the geo fence, there may be IPs that are outside of the range in which we can have traffic come in. So an example of this would be your client says, I'm going to Puerto Rico. And then they say, hey, I can't get into our VPN. And then you check their IP address. You may put it in here under IP location, the pythonclub.org. And then they'll say, hey, that's not in Puerto Rico. That IP address is in Germany. That's why you can't get in. So this will tell you specifically where IPs are. And there are 2 sites there that can assist you with that. Supernetting. So this is something that I use quite often. And the reason that I use this, and it was brought to me by Bryce. Bryce is one of our lead smart developers. He brought this program to me because this website to me, I needed this because there are times when I'm trying to put an IP address on an allow list. And then the next day, I need to put another IP address that's similar to it on an allow list. Sometimes you have to find the supernet or the range that encompasses all of the IPs of that location. So Hacker Target does that exactly. So if I have an IP address, let's say for a VoIP vendor or a camera system, I can find out what IP address it is. I put that IP address here, and it'll give me the range that encompasses that IP address that I should use. So sometimes I can put that into your static allow list to allow. Now, do note, most times, if you're dealing with smaller companies, they don't own the whole range. So you might be putting IPs in there that are not part of that range. But this is something that has assisted me, and I did want to pass it on. So the bgp.he.net/IP is where I go to put in IPs to find out what the supernet is of that IP address. So we're going to look at a little bit of DNS and some safe DNS servers and other things like that. So let's move on. The Calyptix has a really, really good DNS lookup. Under Home Diagnostics, you can go to the DNS lookup. I try my best to use this before I use outside DNS lookups. So one of the cool DNS lookups out there is lookup.icann.org. So that one will give you all of the information if you're looking for different domain names and the IP addresses associated with there. But the Calyptix has that. The reason I use the AccessEnforcer's DNS lookup is because sometimes IPs are by region. I'll give you an example. So me being on the East Coast, when I look at Netflix, I'll put in netflix.com here or netflix.org. And all of the Netflix sites that are at this location that pull up will be on the East Coast. But if I was in Los Angeles, it might give me the IPs that are on the West Coast. So they might not pertain to me. So that's why I use the DNS lookup from the Calyptix, but we also have one from ICANN that you can find as well. Many times we want to find out if a domain name has propagated all over the world. So this is a program, once again, that Bryce told me about, what's my DNS.net or the DNSchecker.org. These sites will allow you to find out which name servers your domain name has propagated to. You may have to find out this because you're trying to get people to go to your website, and then you'll find out, oh, it's not over there yet. So this program will assist in that process. There are some free public DNS servers out there. We basically call them universal DNS servers, and we use them primarily if we have a multi-WAN setup. So a lot of times we have found that if you have proprietary ISP DNS servers in your system, they don't work on other ISPs. So if I have, and this is just an example, it's not for real. If I have Verizon DNS servers here, and then I try to use my Comcast multi WAN on the other side, it may not work. So we have universal DNS servers here. These three sites right here will give you an overview of what the best ones for you might be. And they will give you a breakdown of each of the DNS servers, like the 8.8.8.8, 208.67.222.222, which is Open DNS, and others like that, Cloudflares. So they'll give you a breakdown of those. Next, we want to talk about our safe DNS servers. So we have two different sites that we can go to, the Cloudflare and the Clean Browsing. These are safe DNS servers that block malware, porn, and spyware. That's what they help prevent those. So with putting in these forwarders of 1.1.1.3 or the 1003 or the 185.228, 168, and putting in these DNS servers as your forwarders means if somebody comes to your DNS server, they will only go out to these two forwarders, one of these, then you'll have safe browsing inside of your network. And that blocks a lot of things. So if you're at a school or some type of church event, you might want to have these as the only DNS servers that could be used in those places. So the Calyptix VPN is a proprietary service that we have here for doing client to network VPNs. So we use this program, we set it up, and it's set up under the VPN. But I wanted to show you some other programs that you can use for this. So in remote connections, if you're on a Mac, a lot of times you can use the OpenVPN, you can use TunnelBlick. They're free versions. There is another version out there called Spark Labs, has something called Viscosity. Viscosity is something that they have designed as a client to network VPN. It's very good. It costs $14 a client, but the setup for it and all the setup is so easy. It's something that we recommend from Calyptix as well. Now, if you have an ARM processor, OpenVPN does have an ARM processor. So we will use OpenVPN's ARM processor on the new Surfaces that are out there. So that's something to be aware of. When you install the Calyptix VPN or OpenVPN on a Windows device, the tap adapter is something that is put into your network configuration. So under network connections, you'll see a tap adapter. If you don't, we did put a link here where you can find the latest tap adapter from OpenVPN, just in case it's not installed on your system when you install it the first time. Now, we're going to move into a little bit of troubleshooting, finding out some bad sites, where to go, things like that. So at Calyptix and our AccessEnforcers, we have partnered with BrightCloud. BrightCloud is a very, very good web filtering system that we use. It's by OpenText, and we have found it to be very good at categorizing different websites when you have to block or allow certain things, whether it be news websites, whether it be nudity, whether it be shopping sites. This was a great add to the AccessEnforcer. But we have found out, if you want to look up and find out what category a site is in, we're giving you the link here to look up your IP address, or you can actually send them if it's not categorized right. You can send it straight to BrightCloud and ask them to change it. So we did want to put this in here just in case you're running the AccessEnforcer with the web filter or HTTPS filter on. We wanted to put this in here so that you can have a place where you can send those changes or look up why they categorize something. My favorite go-to when finding out a lot of people that are using Community Shield, they'll come to me and they'll say, why is this bad? I have put down and they're not in order, I just wanted to let you know, a group of sites that I go to. These are my bad site location URLs. I'll go to any one of these to find out if an IP address or domain name is bad. The virus total is the one that I use the most, but Alien Vault is probably one of the most detailed, organized sites that'll tell you why something is bad, how many domain names are behind that one IP address, and it helps out a great deal. But I did want to give you all the list, and you don't have to write it down. We're going to send this out in our when we post this webinar. So you'll have a list of all of the sites that I go to when it comes to finding out if an IP address or if a domain name is bad and why it might be bad. So this is what we do on the back end to find out what sites are bad and why they are. So if you want to find out if your mail server, you put a new mail server in at a location, we use MS Toolbox or the Kitman. So we use one of those T for our SPF validation or if our site is there. I use this a lot when I want to find out if a domain name is hosted at Office 365. So it'll say, I think officeprotection.com will be the domain name. That's how I know it's hosted at O365. So if I put in any domain name on MX Toolbox, it'll tell me what the IP address is and who actually owns those mail servers. Speaking of mail, we're going to talk about SMTP to go. Now, this is my go-to site when it comes to copiers, printers, anything. Believe it or not, it's what I use on my Calyptix, my AccessEnforcer at my house. It's so easy to set up. And with all of the different validations that are coming with setting up a Google account or an Office 365, SMTP to go makes it very easy to validate who you are by your domain name, by your email address, and then all you have to do is set it up and say, I want you to send whatever mail, and it sends it on your behalf. This right here, by far, has saved me so much time and energy, even with the AccessEnforcer. Under Setup General, when you want to get your reports, this right here is my go-to when it comes to setting up easy, reliable mail. Now, the free version allows you 200 emails a day. I only have the free version because my AccessEnforcer only sends me one email a day. So I would recommend SMTP to go as a reliable and easy mail service instead of using all of the other ones to try and configure your printers or your copiers at your locations. To send encrypted email, there's a place. There used to be one. Firefox had one, but they no longer exist. So if you sendgb.com is a place where you can send encrypted email. This is all free. So you can send large attachments or you can send passwords securely. This is the place to go, sendgb.com. This allows us to send emails securely, and it's very easy to do. So we're getting close to the end, and we have a lot of time left. We did go through a lot of slides, but I did want to share some more information with you guys. So let's move into our passwords and more sites that you guys might want to find out about what we use at Calyptix here. So password generators. We all know that using password $1 is not a good idea. So to find really, really strong generated automatic passwords, I use strongpasswordgenerator.org. This site will generate any type of, it'll take out all of the special characters, it'll add special characters. You can set the length of how long you want the password to be, and it'll generate those automatically. Now, because I am at an age where I'm not going to remember all of these passwords that Strong Password Generator does, that moves me into my next section, which is a password manager. At Calyptix, one of the password managers of choice that we use is Bitwarden. Bitwarden is so good that a lot of us have bought the premium version. It's not expensive, and we wanted to invest in their company because they gave us a place where, or a platform where we can organize our passwords, where we can go. It is a preferred online password manager, and it works really well. However, it's not just a password manager. It does pass key management. It has high features, MFA, and a lot more. So you can do these. I think with the premium version, you can send encrypted email as well with the Bitwarden program. So our password manager of choice that we use is bitwarden.com. Now, remote management. How do I get back into my networks and I don't have a platform that allows me free or easy remote management? And what if you don't have Teams? Because I did not buy Microsoft M365 and I don't have the version of Teams that I can do. We use a quick and dirty program called Jitsi. Jitsi was introduced by us by Bryce. Bryce brought us Jitsi. It is a program that allows you to do conferencing. The free version allows you to do 10 people conferencing. And when you say it's easy to set up, if you go to meet.jitsi, it'll just say, what do you want to call it? And you say, I want to call it a conference call for sports. And then once you click OK, it creates the conference call. You send the link to everybody that you just created, and it opens up just very, very fast and easy. Again, it's free and it's very secure. Now, RustDesk is our open source remote management tool that we use at Calyptix. It is basically TeamViewer on steroids for free. We use RustDesk to get into your machines when we have to fix them with the console cable and with PuTTY. Then we'll ask you to install. Now, you don't even have to install RustDesk. All you have to do is download it and run it. It'll give you the code. You give us the code, and we're able to get into your machines without even installing the program. RustDesk is probably one of the fanciest free open source remote management tools I've ever seen, and it's great to have. It's a must-have for us here. Now, I talked to a guy, Scott Harvey, up in Raleigh. He's one of our partners. And Scott said, Dwayne, you don't have Share Mouse? I said, what's Share Mouse? So I wanted to bring it to you all so that you knew what it was. If you have 2 servers in a small closet and you don't have room to have 3 different mice and 3 different keyboards, you can use something called Shared Mouse. And as long as you have 2 screens up or 3 screens and on 3 different machines, you can share the 1 mouse and keyboard between all 3 seamlessly. This is free, so you can share up to 2 machines free with Shared Mouse. However, if you get the premium version, you can share up to 9 machines. And with the premium version, you can drag and drop from one computer to the other. So if you have a file, you don't have to find out where the share is or all of that. All you do is drag from one monitor to the second monitor, and it will copy that information. It is a great and handy tool that we have known, that we just found out about, but it is a great one to have. Email address compromise checkers. So when we use these sites, and I've used these sites, I ran my own business, and when I went to go acquire new partners or new clients, I asked them for their email address. Well, what's your email address? And then I put it into the site, have I been pwned? Or the Avast hacker check. So with this, I put it in one of those, and these sites will tell me exactly how many times there was a data breach with my email address. Now, I use this information and I give it back to them and say, your email that you have has been compromised 7 times. And it's a good way for you to have some information so that you can try and get new business. And we wanted to share this information with you. So these will show you exactly where your email address has been compromised. The AccessEnforcer, this is a totally separate entity of email. The Access Enforcer uses something called UTC time and it's a universal time that we use. However, if you want to find out in a report what UTC time translates to your local time, you can use the timeanddate.com website or the current UTC time and date site. So this will show you how to translate UTC time to your local time there. So we did want to add this as a link because a lot of your reports may come in UTC time, and we want to make sure that you know exactly what that is. So that translation can be done here. So we are almost about done, but I did want to give you some more sites, some more. I'm trying to get data dump all that I have from Calyptix to try and help you guys access all of the information that I have. So many people are nervous about Google and Edge and tracking. So I did want to give some alternative browsers to use. DuckDuckGo, Brave. I use Brave. Opera, if you're on a Mac, they work well. These browsers are very, very good. Some have VPNs built directly into them. So all you have to do is click a button and then it opens up a VPN so that they can no longer track what you're doing. But I did want to mention some of the alternate browsers other than Edge and Chrome and Firefox. Do note, I do use Brave, and the search mechanism on Brave is good, not as good as Google's, but it's pretty good. So I do have Google and another so I can compare. So these are some of the alternate browsers that we can use. Now, when you want to find out a MAC address for any device, my go-to Wireshark has a device, the Mac vendor lookup. So you can go to any one of these three sites and you can find out what MAC address, who owns the MAC address on the hardware that your NIC card has. Now, this is pretty good to know if you're saying, let's say you're looking for, well, which one is my camera? And you're looking in your ARP table or your DHCP table, and you don't know which one it is. So you copy the MAC address into one of these sites, and it'll say that one is from Canon. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Canon is a printer company, not a camera system company. So from there, I'll be looking around. So these sites can help you find a MAC address if you copy them into it, and it'll find the hardware and the vendor who owns that MAC address. Now, do note, just wanted to put a note in here that Android and Apple are making it very, very difficult for you to find out the MAC address because all Apple products and all Android products come with a randomizer on them. So if you're trying to block a specific MAC address, chances are if it's a iPhone or an Android phone, it's going to be very difficult because they randomize by default their MAC address. You can turn that feature off on your phones, but it is there by default. Just wanted to let you guys know. So when you go to a new site, or let's say you all take over a vendor and you want to find out all of the information that's there, all of the computers, all of the printers, we use Angry IP or Advanced IP Scanner. Now, I used to use Advanced IP Scanner all the time. However, in talking to some of the partners, they're like, that one's not even being supported anymore. Use the angryip.org and go there and get it. But this will, once you type it, you on site and you plug it into the network, you type in their range, and it'll give you every single device that is there on site. It's a very, very handy tool for finding out quickly what type of devices that they have, whether they're printers, copiers, what the router is. It'll find out and tell you the host name, and most of the times you can find out the MAC address that's associated with that IP address. So I did want to say angryip.org is probably your best bet when you go and taking over a site and want to find out as much information as you can quickly. This is the program that I would use. So we're descending down. We're coming to the end of our webinar, but I did want to say we are going to do a survey. The program that we're going to do our survey in is called Mentimeter. So if you have your phones out and you want to scan this QR code, we are going to open up our survey in a little bit, or you can go to mentimeter.com and put in this activation code. This slide will come up again, but I did want to get you guys ready for what we're about to do and doing our survey. So we're going to use a cool new program that I found out about called Mentimeter. Now, online portal UDP port scans. This is very, very important because there are times when you have to find out if your IP address has a UDP port that's open. So IP Void, which was one of the sites that we use in trying to find scanners, is here, and we will find out from the UDP port scanners that you can do some online things and find out who is there in the IP scanner from your WAN side. So that's a program that we use, or a site that we use called ipvoid.com to find out your UDP port scanners. So if you want to find out a speed test, this is these are the sites that we use. Now, Calyptix doesn't use just one speed test when we're trying to find out how fast or how much we can go. We try to use 2 or 3 of these to figure out baseline troubleshooting, things like that, how much bandwidth you can pass in and out. We try to use 2 or 3 to figure out, fast.com or cloudflare.com. So we will use 1 or 2 or 3 of those just to see your baseline of how much you can pass through that network. And finally, our last slide here, if you need a little bit of assistance with network troubleshooting, or if you want to refresh your IT knowledge, the site we have, the hypertechsp.com, this is a great place where you can go just to make sure that you are up on your IT knowledge, a little bit here, a little bit there. So we recommend this site just for basic general knowledge. So we did want to mention this is a good resource for IT people. So I'm going to ask Joseph to come in.
Yep, I was just jumping in to let you know that we do have partner deals happening right now. And as you can see, we have from 20 to 42% off on select AccessEnforcer. So the 1500 and the 1900. As you can see here, there's a monthly deal and an annual deal. The 1900, we really only have an annual deal for it. But if you want to find out more information, you can go into the partner portal, into the partner programs and pricing page. It does require a login. And you'll be able to see all the pricing for everything that we have going on for this year. And if you do want to redeem any of these deals that we have going on, contact your account success manager, and they will get you everything started for you.
Excellent. Now, if you're not a partner and you just came to the webinar, or you would like some more information, then you can contact Calyptix, and we can set you up as a partner so that you can get more information about what we have and what we have available.
And if you are a partner and you don't have access to the portal, just email portal@calyptix.com and we'll be able to get you sorted.
Excellent. Thank you. So again, our Mentimeter is here. If you would like to be a part of our survey, this is the QR code that we're going to use, and we're going to put this up for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to do a live survey so that you guys can see what it looks like for the Mentimeter. And then we will move on. All right. I hope you guys have been a part of it. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar. I thank you all for coming. We definitely want to show you the live results. So we're going to put them over here. The first question that we have is, in one word, how would you describe this webinar? These are some of the various answers that have come in. We're going to leave this up for maybe about the next 2 or 3. And this program here is a great resource for when you want to do slides or when you want to do surveys. This is a great resource. It also has the like buttons down here so that you can see. We're going to leave this up for maybe 10 more seconds, and then we're going to move to the next question. All right, let's move to the next slide. So this slide says, would you consider joining another webinar like this and bringing a colleague? So we're asking you guys, if you move to this one, we'll see if you would enjoy another webinar like this and potentially bringing a colleague. So if you guys can vote on this, we're going to do this. And we're going to leave this up for maybe about another 10 seconds. Then we'll move on to our next one. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. So the next one is, if I have not, and you would like to have a product named that we have not suggested, we want to ask that you put it here, that we can suggest to others that I may have missed in this webinar, or you want me to preview in the next webinar that we do like this. So if you can think of any type of programs or websites that we should have mentioned, then you can put those there. And we're going to leave this up for about 10 seconds. We have about 3 more questions in our survey, and then we'll go from there. I know that site. It's called No.
I do want to say that Steve Banks did put in a suggestion of a good site for whois and RN DNS lookup is centralops.net/co. Yep, there it is right there.
Central Ops. So that's something that we will definitely try and put up, and any run is good. 1Pass is an excellent password manager. I believe that Warren runs 1Pass. So that's one that he uses. So these are some great suggestions coming in. And we're going to leave this up for about another 5 seconds. Then we'll move to our next one. Thank you all. So, in a distribution point of 100, what was the most important thing to you? So if you can on your phones, if you're on a computer and you type this in, what was the most important? Was it problem solving, the networking, virus and scanning detection, or just learning more about Calyptix? So if you guys want to just take a little time and use the slider to see what was most important to you guys, and then we'll figure out how and what is important to you. And again, Mentimeter is like a really, really cool tool because it shows you live what people are thinking, and it does not require you to be in the presentation to do it. So a lot of times we use this program because people can vote on their phones while they're watching the presentation go. So we are going to hold this one for another 10 seconds so you guys can put this in. And then after that, we'll move to our second to last survey question. Yeah. Thank you all. And this one is, how would you rate the knowledge of this presentation? Did you learn a little bit? Was it okay? A little bit above the passage, or I like totally upgrade for me. Like I learned so much. We're not going to call it poor ever because I did it. So I didn't even put an option in there for poor. So bam, these are your options. And we're going to leave this up for about 5 seconds, and then we'll move to the next one. All right. And finally, name something that you did not know from this webinar. So if you did not know a program or a site, name that, because we wanted to see, we put this slide in here because we wanted to find out what type of programs or what type of sites you guys are interested in so that we can focus on those for the next webinar. So if you didn't know something that you were like, yo, that was really cool, then you can definitely put it in here. If not, we are going to choose what the next webinar is all about. And we'll hold this for about 10 seconds, and then we'll move on to closing out this webinar. 4 corners. Excellent. RustDesk. SMTP to go. Excellent. 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 The RustDesk program is like really intense. When they showed it to me, Bryce brought it before us. Now, a program that I did not tell you guys about, but that's on here. Aaron uses a program, and Aaron is one of our developers. It is called Tailscale. I am not going to tell you what Tailscale is. I am not going to tell you how to use Tailscale, but I am going to mention Tailscale. And I would like you guys, if you want to go and find out the new and latest way to get to a machine or to isolate or limit, I would suggest you guys use and find out about Tailscale. And finally, anything else you would like to mention about this webinar, about Calyptix, you guys can put those responses here. And once again, we really, really thank you all for coming, being a part of this webinar. I'm hoping that all of the information that was given will help you and assist you in being good partners or just good techs, just being out there. And thank you all for your responses and coming. We definitely appreciate that.
Yes, thank you very much. Just a reminder that the recording of this webinar will be in our YouTube and in the partner portal by tomorrow afternoon, along with the slide deck and links that Dwayne has shared today. So be sure to check out the partner portal. There will be an email reminder for that. And yeah, if you have any questions, just let us know. We are right here for any of the questions that you have.
Thank you all. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Goodbye.